New York Times declares war on YouTube conservatives. The paper accusing YouTube stars of radicalizing people. The Times following the journey of Cain, a college dropout who clicked on YouTube and, as the piece put it, was steered toward, quote, crazy town. Here's Cain in his own words.
I was depressed during that period of time and looking for an outlet for that depression, and I turned to YouTube. But what I didn't realize was I was being given a political philosophy, and over time, my political ideas started to change quite drastically, which was pretty clear to anybody in my life at the time. And really, it just took me into a place where I became further isolated from social groups and just started to ostracize a lot of people in my life very unfairly.
Here to respond, one of the personalities who the Times accuses of radicalizing people, Dave Rubin, the host of the Rubin Report. Now, I'm just nervous having you on, Dave. You might radicalize me. I mean, I don't know what I'm getting into. How do you feel about being targeted this way by the New York Times?
Yeah, Waters, I hate to tell you, you will be a far-right, alt-right radical by talking to me, a decent liberal that tries to, mend fences instead of burning bridges like everybody else.
Yeah, how did you get thrown into the mix with all these people?
Look, first off, just right at the top, I hate to actually bash the New York Times because I come from a family of New York liberals in the best sense of that, in the JFK sense of what liberal means, not sort of what the modern progressive Democratic Party has become. So my dad, who is still a liberal Democrat to this day, I mean, he's subscribed to the New York Times even before I was born, so 40-plus years. So I don't love the idea of coming on and bashing the New York Times.
My parents are the same way, but sometimes you got to put that aside.
Right.
Go ahead.
You got to put that aside, exactly. Well, look, what happened was my dad sees this article in the Sunday Times, and it's not fun for your dad to have to open up the newspaper and a couple pages in see his son's picture with the words alt-right underneath, which is, of course, the furthest from the truth. Everything that I do on my show is to fight the forces of collectivism and racism and all of those things. Now, what the New York Times is doing here, I mean, it's blatantly disingenuous on its face because the idea of the article was this kid who basically started off as a lefty.
Right.
Then he sort of became a conservative on YouTube. Then he went down the alt-right rabbit hole. Then they sort of imply that watching videos like mine and this intellectual dark web that I'm part of, which is basically a group of free thinkers that are trying to get people to discuss certain issues, difficult issues to talk about, we sort of pull him out of that, and then he ends up, at the end of the article, he becomes a lefty. He's a full-on lefty. So the premise of the article is that YouTube is radicalizing people to the far right, except that the kid becomes a lefty at the end.
They radicalized him 360 degrees back where he started from. I don't like this because to me it looks like the media is teaming up with big tech, and they're trying to slowly chip away at influential thinkers and personalities on social media. And because big tech is usually to the left, they get bullied by the media, and they get bullied by people on Twitter into caving to just a few people that say this is a bad guy, this is a bad guy, and then we end up with less discussion and debate. But that's what they want. They want less debate.
Oh, yeah. Not only is that what they want, I mean, that is what they specifically are designing all of this to do. They do not like the fact that I have 1 million+ YouTube subscribers and I treat conservatives decently. Sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I don't, but I treat you scary conservatives like humans. And that is actually against what the New York Times and CNN... Yeah. I'm a pretty great guy, wouldn't you say? But that's actually against what the New York Times and the Daily Beast and Vox and the rest of these guys want to do. And by the way, it's not like they give me any sort of bonus for agreeing with them on certain issues like gay marriage or legalizing marijuana.
But you're right. To back up to the point you just made, they want to bully people into treating conservatives like aliens. You're not allowed to talk to them. You can't... mainstream them. I mean, I know that you were going to interview Pete Buttigieg on your show in Vox. The same people that went after Steven Crowder bullied Buttigieg and did not do in your show. But this just goes back to something that this whole Times thing was about, radicalization. As far as I know, this guy that was looking at all your YouTube videos, he never shot anybody. He never committed any violence. I don't see where the radicalization is, although, couple years ago, we saw a guy go online and was looking at the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they, list a whole group of people that are anti-gay. The guy took a gun and shot up the Family Research Council. So I just don't see the danger. I'll give you the last word.
Well, if you have a premise, if you're a journalist, and I use that word very loosely, if you're a journalist and you have a premise first, you can write almost any article to prove that point. But, this guy's radicalization, not only does he end up as a lefty, the only other evidence they use of his radicalization, Jesse, you're not going to believe this. You know what he did? He dated a Christian woman.
Oh,
that's literally what it says in the article.
Wow.
Yeah, my God.
That's
he dated
big trouble.
a Christian woman.
That's
Crazy.
like an ISIS bride, according to the New York Times. You can't do that. All right, Dave, I got to run, but thanks for coming into Waters World, and thanks for not radicalizing me too much. I appreciate it.
It's subtle, my friend.
All right. I'll look for the signs.